Hi, and welcome to Have a Chat. I am Veronique Arseneault here, and today it is such a unique show. Unfortunately, Audrey's not feeling too well, and Judy had some things that she had to take care of. So I am so thrilled and so honored to be joined by His Worship, Mayor Adam Lordon.
Well, thank you, Vero. I'm very excited to be here with you as well, yet again.
I know. I think you are our most requested and most enjoyed guest.
Well, you know, I used to work on Maryland Dennis, but I think now Have a Chat is my new favorite daytime talk show.
Yeah, you have no choice but to say that. As we're sitting here together, you have no choice.
You're going to have to add me to the opening credits.
That's true. That'll be our new one come the spring. But thank you for joining me today.
Of course.
It would have been terribly lonely sitting here by myself.
Well, we couldn't have that.
No, and thank you for pitch hitting. So, huge weekend here on the river.
It was busy. It's always busy. It was especially busy this weekend.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. So, of course, Friday was St. Patrick's Day, and
Yes.
us being the Irish capital of Canada, it was without a doubt a huge event, an epic event, as we like to say here on the Miramichi.
Well, there was something going on for everybody, you know, of all ages in all corners of the city. And I know you were out and about. I was out and about. It was impossible to get to everything.
Oh,
but
no kidding.
you know, whether you're looking for the Irish culinary experience, there was corned beef and cabbage at a few different places, and you know, of course, the green beer aplenty, and lots of cultural programming too. And I know there was a great concert at the traditional Nelson St. Paddy's Day concert, among many others. So
I have to say,
what did you do?
I am Irish Acadian, but I am not a fan of corned beef and cabbage.
Really?
No, I can't do it.
Well, I tried to go get my corned beef and cabbage at the Chatham Legion.
Yes.
And I waited a little too late in the day. I showed up just about 5 o'clock and to a sold out sign on the door.
Yes.
Which is good for them, bad for me. So I'm going to make sure I get there earlier next year.
Yeah, you're going to have to plan that a little bit better.
That's right. I was able to swing by a couple of local pubs though and have some green beer.
There was an incredible amount of activity happening. I know O'Donoghue's, of course, had a full day of entertainment. Capers as well had a full day of entertainment. Mike's Bar and Grill. There wasn't a place that didn't, really. And then the Chatham Rotary Club had their fundraiser dance on Friday night at Riverside Entertainment.
Right. I hear it was very well attended.
500 tickets sold.
Wow.
Yeah. It
Standing room only.
It was definitely. And Raglan Road performed. So, I mean, they were.
In the house.
Yeah.
Now, I read something about, they did a song that was an ode to the McDonald's couch.
The couch, yep.
Okay, were you there for,
no,
for the
I missed that part. That was
couch?
at the end of the night. So I am not quite the wild partier that I used to be. I tend to slow down a little bit now, but that was towards the end of the night. And they did actually write a song about the McCouch episode.
The McCouch, which made national headlines for Miramichi.
Of course.
I call it very innovative.
Well, you know, they had rigged that puppy up.
They did.
Like, that was not just like, they didn't just decide to get on that couch and go.
Required some serious engineering.
It did, and they wore helmets for safety.
That's right. And I mean, we're very fortunate being Canada's Irish capital. We have 2 big Irish parties a year because we have, you know, St. Patrick's Day with the rest of the country and the world, really. Yeah. And then, of course, we gear up for another big celebration in July with the Irish Festival.
I know, and it's funny, both Patty, Quinn, and I had said that last year was our last year, and we had, you know, great fanfare, very sad we were leaving. We didn't leave. We're both still there and looking forward to the 34th annual this summer.
Well, you guys are both, you know, dedicated community volunteers, and I don't know how anything would happen around here without both of you guys.
In our minds, that's what goes on.
Yes.
Yeah, in our minds. We tell ourselves that anyway, but no, we're looking forward to it. But, you know, Friday was definitely the kickoff. So, but you did something very exciting on Saturday.
Well, I had a very neat opportunity on Saturday, and, you know, as mayor, I get invited to a lot of different events, but also to you know, by different groups and associations to try out what they're up to and what they're doing. And a few weeks ago now, I had an opportunity to go skiing at the Cross Country Ski Club, and through that I met a number of different people, and one of them was the local biathlon club. And they had invited me out Saturday to come experience what it's like to be a biathlete. So I went with them, and of course biathlon is when you're cross-country skiing and when you're, you know, shooting at the targets in between. So I went out, and there's a great team of probably about a dozen or so youth in the city. 3 of them just got back from the Canadian Nationals in Alberta.
They're quite amazing.
And I have to tell you, I've never even shot a gun in my life.
Right.
And so they took me to, in the morning they used the space of the Miramichi Gun Club, which is very kind of the gun club to give them that space up in Barnaby. and then in the afternoon they ski at the cross country ski club. So they showed me the proper methods of holding the gun, and you shoot on your stomach and also standing.
Wow.
Now the stomach is substantially easier, but make no mistake, they're both very, very difficult. So I did have one, I had 5 shots at the target, and I got one actually on the bullseye, very close to the bullseye. I think it was beginner's luck.
Happens.
That was, of course, on my stomach. Standing, I think I hit 1 out of the 5.
Right.
So, but the kids, had a really great time. And then we went down to the ski club, and it was also, well, you guys were there with the Multicultural Association.
Yep.
The Young Jackrabbit program was there. That ski club, and I met a number of people from Halifax who come up here multiple times during the winter to use our cross-country ski club. And they tell me that our ski club, cross-country ski club, is the best one in the Maritimes.
That's amazing, and it's all run by volunteers, right?
Yeah, and it's important for people to know that you don't have to be a member. So they have everything you need. I don't have skis.
No.
You can rent skis and get the trail pass, and it's like $10 a person. It's amazing.
And snowshoes as well.
And snowshoes.
And the great thing is that it's not far from the center of Miramichi City. It's just in Nelson.
Oh my gosh, no.
Like it's 3 minutes up the road, as we say here.
Up the road, yeah, just up the road, around the
back
corner.
The road.
just past Papa Joe's.
That's right. But it's so centrally located in just on the outskirts of the city. It's quite amazing that we have that kind of trail facility available.
And the biathlon club is working to I guess add some new trails and a biathlon shooting range on site, so they'll be able to properly train and also potentially in the future host events. So it was great to see all the hard work that they're doing to try to make that happen. And I will say, when I was there a few weeks ago with Evan, which was really one of my first times doing this, I fell 8 times. Ooh. And this weekend I only fell 5 times.
Improvement.
So we're getting better.
Improvement. Well, the fantastic thing is we of course took some of our members from the Miramichi Multicultural Association, and the fantastic thing is that they have volunteers that will help to teach you, right? And to help you not fall so much.
And they'll size you up for the skis and the whole shebang. And then of course Saturday night in town was the big T-Wolves first playoff game. So the T-Wolves are kicking off a playoff series against the St. Stephen Aces, and they won the game 10-1. The T-Wolves, they were ranked #1 in their division this year, so we're hoping they're going to make a big run. Minister Fraser was there along with Minister Ames from St. Stephen,
I did
the
see
mayor
that.
of St. Stephen, and I. So the ministers had a little bet, and the mayor of St. Stephen and I did a little bet as well. So whichever team wins the series, the other community will fly the winning team's flag.
Very cool.
So we're hoping that we're going to see the Miramichi flag up down there in St. Stephen. But phenomenal crowd, because it was also Packermania night. Well,
and you know what? It was so amazing to see it on Facebook and on social media in general. Councillor Summers was a driving force for sure behind that initiative, and getting that rink filled on Saturday night. And it was the 30th anniversary, right? 30 years.
That's right.
Since they won the Hardy Cup, right?
Yes. That's
now, quite the anniversary.
That I was still I don't even know if I was walking yet at that time. But,
I was.
but from hearing the stories, and over half the team from '87, from the Hardy Cup championship team, were able to be there.
Wow.
So just hearing the stories about how the rink was packed, and it really brought the community together at that time, and the memories that were made. I know Councillor Summers, who took a lead on this initiative, was just so passionate, and he really wanted to create some of that magic for the Timberwolves, and there was about 1,300 people there.
Amazing.
And that was game 1 of the playoffs. So I think that they have done that, and over the course of this playoff run, you're going to see the rink continuing to be filled, and hopefully our T-Wolves will be able to create a new championship for the community as well.
Love that. And it's funny because I know a few years ago, or probably about 2 years ago, we had the head coach from the Timberwolves on the show, and he was talking about, they were rebuilding and they were looking to the future, and they were, getting excited about what they were going to accomplish. And here we are in this massive playoff run now, and they're doing phenomenally well in their season. So it's pretty exciting to see.
It is. Go Wolves, go all the way to the finals.
That's right. We're with you. We're with you, and we want to see the flag flying in St. Stephen, right?
That's right.
More importantly, we want to see the flag flying in St. Stephen. So There's also actually something really exciting happening today, and it kicks off a week of activities, and it's La Journée de la Francophonie.
Oui, c'est vrai.
C'est vrai, oui, and that kicks off a week of, I think I heard on the news this morning, there's 94 schools in the Francophone School District that are kicking off a week of pride and talking about, their heritage and culture and their language. So we're pretty excited about that starting today.
Well, I know there's a big dinner, and there's going to be delegates from different countries of the Francophonie at the Carrefour tonight. I know you and I will both be there, and it's exciting to draw attention. I think especially in this 150th anniversary celebration all year long of Canada, for different cultures to celebrate. And of course the Irish just had their turn. That's right. So it's very exciting for the Acadians to have that as well. And they know how to do it if they're doing a week.
They do, for sure. And that is, for me, I mean, really, that is what it is all about. Having Canada 150 and celebrating Canada as it is, and being able to come together. There's time for all of us to have some of our celebrations and our honors. So like you said, we'll see it. We saw it last week with the Irish, and we're heading now into the Acadian, the Francophone. So, all of our time comes.
Well, and as mayor too, it's incredibly important for me that Miramichi be known as a community, an inclusive community, that one that embraces diversity, and there's so much value in that, whether it's cultural or anything else. So we really want people to know that everybody is welcome in Miramichi and celebrated, not just welcome, but celebrated.
Yeah, celebrated.
And we're going to be celebrating all these cultures and really our Canadian heritage all summer long. From Canada Day kicking it off. And there's so much going on.
So much.
The big Tall Ships Festival, and we're going to be in the next early April. I think we're going to have the kickoff, the 3-month countdown to the Tall Ship Festival.
Fantastic. Lots
of exciting details. That event's really coming together as well.
Now, something that was pretty cool that happened on the weekend that we didn't touch on was the HR manager from the city of Bathurst.
Yes, Mr. Jamie DeGrasse, who I've had the opportunity to meet a little bit. Jogged all the way from Bathurst on St. Patrick's Day to Miramichi. He had a friend of his with him, and they did that to symbolize the close relationship and partnership between the city of Miramichi and the city of Bathurst. And
that's a long jog.
But they didn't even look. They looked like they didn't even break a sweat, which it was hard for me to fathom that. But it was such a positive thing to do, and we as a council and along with our staff have been trying to make a concerted effort to really think regionally and build up our relationships, not just with our surrounding communities in the Miramichi region, but in the entire north of the province. And there's a lot of value when we can exchange resources and ideas. And we have partnered with Bathurst already. I know Jamie comes down as a resource sometimes to when we're interviewing in the HR department, and as does our director go up there. And economic development, we're always sharing ideas and resources. Fantastic. And tourism, I know Jeff works hard with the other communities in the north on the Northern Odyssey, which is the snowmobile tourism efforts. So, the more that we can bring people together and share these resources, the better off everyone's going to be. And the message was, we're not in competition. There's a whole global economy out there, and as regional partners, we should be working together.
Fantastic. Now, in our last couple minutes, I would be very silly not to take the opportunity to pick your brain a little bit about what's going on in City Hall.
Well, it's very, very busy at City Hall, but busy is good because it means that there's a lot going on. So, I mentioned the Tall Ships is something that we're working to prepare.
We're excited.
A couple of park renewals. Renewing the parks has been a big thing for this council and for me personally since I got involved. And that means investing in our park spaces, our community spaces. If the parks in a community are not well maintained, it's not great for the residents, and it's not very welcoming to our visitors. So,
because that's what they remember, unfortunately.
Well, and these are our public gathering community hubs, right? Yeah. So this year we're going to be moving forward with phase 2 of the renewal at Queen Elizabeth Park downtown in the square, and a significant renewal effort is happening at Ritchie Wharf as well. Yes. So we the Chatham Rotary is investing in a brand new accessible playground there, and we're going to be renewing and investing around them. So we're repainting the shops, installing new windows, a lot of new landscaping, and we're working towards securing funding from the provincial government to redo the boardwalk as well. So and a new dock system.
Well, and that's great. And I just want to give a little plug to the Rotary Club of Chatham, just because that park renewal that we're embarking on came really from our bingo. So so people playing bingo every week, you know, wondering maybe where that money is going. It's going back into the community, so we're excited.
Well, and I had an opportunity last week to meet with a couple of the Chatham Rotarians, and I said, I really admire this, not just because Rotary is so great and gives back to the community all the time, but for the Chatham Rotary to make that investment on the Newcastle side of our community. To me, this is exactly where we all need to be going.
It's about community.
We are one city,
Yep.
and we all use the entire city.
Exactly.
And you know, these are the kind of actions that speak louder than words, and together we're going to propel the community forward, and everyone's going to be better off.
Yeah, well, and the Rotary model is service above self. It's not service above self in Chatham. It's service above self
that's right.
in our community, right? So we're definitely, and we see that, you know, with the Newcastle Club as well. You know, they have helped us in so many of our projects and vice versa. So it really is about just helping our neighbor. So we're looking forward to that. So we have, you know, maybe a little bit of a minute left. What else is going on at City Hall?
Okay, well, we are, of course, you know, examining just a lot of how we do business. So we've got operational reviews happening in a number of the departments. Of course, the rec file, and we should see some news coming out of that in the next couple of months in the spring as well.
Yep.
And we got our report back from the fire consultants.
Oh, good.
So there, again, that's something that over the next couple of months, we're going to have a busy spring.
Yeah.
And you'll see a lot of news and renewal happening within our organization and around the community. So we're incredibly excited.
Well, there's no question, you know, we see both yourself and the city councilors out at everything, which we always have. You know, that's the wonderful thing about living in a community like ours, is that our elected officials are so involved in the community, and you expect to see them out, you know, on Friday and Saturday at the fundraisers and the fun and all of that stuff. So, but we're definitely seeing a lot of progress and a lot of different initiatives, and I'm pretty excited about what's to come.
Well, there's just a lot of positive things on the horizon for the community, and you know, people are bringing new ideas inside of the city hall and all around the city, and you're seeing, you know, those seeds of change and renewal.
That's fantastic. Now, we have a huge show coming up today. We're very excited. We have CNIB coming on to talk about dining in the dark. You and I will both be there, of course.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm emceeing that day and that evening, and you'll be attending.
I'll be dining.
Have you dined before?
I've never dined in the dark before, so it's going to be an exciting experience for us.
Wonderful. So we have two of the people involved with the Dining in the Dark dinner, as well as another gentleman coming on in our third segment, Colin Holmes, to talk about some money matters. So really, it's a jam-packed show. You picked a great show to be here for.
Well, they're all great here on Have a Chat, right?
Yeah, we'll go with that. But we want to make sure that, you know, if you haven't picked up your tickets yet for Dining in the Dark, that you get those today. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And keep checking our Facebook page. Let us know how we're doing. Make any suggestions. We'll see you soon. Hi, and welcome back to Have a Chat. I'm Veronique Arseneault today, your host, as Audrey is a little under the weather and Judy had some things that she had going on, but I was so thrilled to be joined by His Worship, Mayor Adam Lordon, as my co-host today, so welcome back.
Thank you.
He's stuck with us, which I'm pretty excited. And today our guests on this section, on this segment from CNIB, Christine Kennedy Babineau and Tina Lewis Richardson.
Hello.
So welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
We are
pretty
excited to have you. I am going to admit that this is one of my favorite events.
That's
It is one of my favorite events. I have been honored over the last 6 years to have been asked to MC the event every year since we launched it, and I love it. I love it, and it is the best food.
It is
Really?
delicious.
I know.
It really is.
I'm going to throw that out there. It
really
is
is.
truly one of the best dinners I've had.
The Lions Club, they do well.
I know they do. The Lions Club does it. But so Christine, you're the program lead and community volunteer engagement coordinator. That's quite the handle.
It is quite the handle. Add that to my really long name.
That's
and
right.
I have a giant name and title.
So tell us a little bit about you so that people get to know who you are.
I'm a mom of boys, active volunteer myself, but advocate for volunteering, and that's what makes me good and love what I do with CNIB.
How long have you been with CNIB?
I've been there for 5 years now.
Wow.
5 years next month, actually.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, it's the longest I've ever been in any job, actually. So that says something about the organization.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And Tina, you're a volunteer.
I am.
Yes. And tell everybody. Now you've joined us a couple times, so
I have.
you are very familiar to our viewers, which is fantastic.
Well, let's hope.
So anybody out there that doesn't know you, tell us a little bit about you.
Lived in Miramichi for 6 years now, and this is home for me and my family. 3 children, 3 teenagers, 13,
fun for you.
13, 16, and 18. So 1 graduating from MVHS this year. Volunteering on the Tall Ships Committee, Dining in the Dark, Oasis, just lots of fun things. Rotarian,
Fellow
Rotarian,
Fellow
yes.
Rotarian.
So you're not very busy at all, Tina.
No, you know.
And then you have your own business.
Right, and then I run my own leadership and business development. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Tina and I are usually working the phones at that bingo.
Oh, yep, we do the bingo together, and we were out Friday night celebrating St. Patrick's Day, but of course I left early as well because we had an early morning the next day.
Yeah.
And our son was picking us up.
Isn't that fun that you've hit that stage now?
I love it. I love it.
So tell us a little bit about CNIB, and we'll get to Dining in the Dark in a minute, but tell us a little bit about CNIB in general.
So CNIB started 99 years ago. After the First World War, veterans came back blinded from the war and really didn't have any resources. So CNIB started way back then as a option to provide housing, clothing, resources for those veterans.
Now we're actually running some video. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on there?
Absolutely. So what we're seeing here is one of our Vision Mate matches. I'm really excited to have the chance to talk to you about all of this. So one lady is a Vision Mate volunteer and the other is a client. So Jessica is our volunteer and she gives us approximately 2 hours every week to be a Vision Mate for us. And she's matched with Ellen, so my job ends up being a matchmaker of sorts. People like to tease me about that, but my job is to recruit volunteers and to match them with clients that they can really build a personal rapport and friendship with. But they're providing sighted assistance in the community. So in this footage, Jessica's with Ellen at the mall. They're going to enjoy a cup of coffee together. They might sit down and read mail. Ellen probably brought her mail with her.
Oh, okay.
So things that may be challenging for Ellen because of her vision, Jessica's able to assist a couple of hours a week. So in this particular instance, it's reading mail that really is a challenge for Ellen. She has retinitis pigmentosa, which means she has tunnel vision, and what vision she does have is gone, so she really does have light perception. So it means that reading mail is not something she can do on her own. But she lives independently and gets around independently, but something like mail, just she can't do on her own without someone else. And we shouldn't have to rely on friends and families and neighbor to do that. So that's where the Vision Mate program comes in, is that Jessica is an unbiased third party who can sit down and read what's on that page and not have any opinion on it. Which I wouldn't want to have to ask my mom or my sister to read my mail for me.
Right.
Because maybe they're going to judge that bank statement they're reading. Where Jessica's
family never does that.
No, never. I know, right? Yeah. So Jessica is a friend to her, but also providing a service. So the matches that we have, we've got 28 matches across the province right now, but so much potential for more. We know that there's a need amongst our clients for this kind of a service, and it's only a couple of hours a week. It doesn't even have to be every week. It could be twice a month or even once a month. But we have matches, something as simple as going for a coffee is what they're doing here, but we have matches that go tandem biking together, that go rowboating together. Is that how you say it, rowboating?
Sure.
Boating, we'll say boating. Things as simple as reading mail, going to their home, or going out in the community. When Ellen and Jessica first met, they didn't meet at Ellen's home, they met at the mall. Okay. So they both got themselves there, met in a comfortable community environment, but some people do go to people's homes. It could be a long-term care facility, or it could be their home or apartment. It really, what the job ends up being, what the role ends up being, is really dependent on what the client needs. So it's provided that sighted assistance.
Having my sight, I'd be worried about tandem biking with sight.
Yes. No question.
I mean, you and I are friends, Adam, but I would worry that you and I would crash.
I think so.
With both of our site.
I would.
You know, I'm not sure about how that would go. So that's very brave of a lot of your volunteers and clients.
Yeah.
Christine, is this particular program available like to people in the Miramichi region?
Absolutely, yeah. We do have clients in this area that are looking for volunteers, and we absolutely have a need for volunteers in this region, everywhere across the province. But absolutely, if somebody wanted to volunteer, the process is really quite simple. It seems like a little bit much at first, but they just complete an application form. I check references, because really it's a stranger. It's somebody I don't know,
Right.
and I'm sending them into someone's home.
Exactly.
So I check references. They need to get a police record check, and then they just go through some training. So they do some stuff at home on their computer, just learning about who we are and what we do, and how to treat people with vision loss like everyone else, right? But just pointing out some of those common sense things to help people understand that they really are like everyone else. And how we can best suit their needs.
So how would they get in contact with you if they wanted to volunteer?
Anyway, they can call our office. I happen to be in our Moncton office, but I travel all across the province. I will come to Miramichi.
You love coming to Miramichi.
I do. I absolutely do. Yeah. They can email us at volunteernb@cnib.ca. That's probably the easiest way. They can check us out on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. Whatever way works for people, they can reach out to us, and I'll give them the information.
Fantastic.
And would it be the same set of contact information, Christine, for those who are visually impaired and looking to access CNIB's resources?
Certainly, absolutely, yeah. Anybody that's, however you want to reach out to CNIB, we'll make sure that you get the right person. So people in this region, probably the best office to reach would be our Moncton office, which is 857-4240, or volunteernb@cnib.ca gets you me, but I'll make sure that you get in touch with the right person. So whether it's accessing some of our rehab service or our social supports through our Vision Make program, whatever it may be, we'll get you in touch with the right person.
So on Saturday,
Yes.
on Saturday is the big night, and so we have the 6th annual Dining in the Dark.
It is.
And so we have our snazzy.
We do. We have our blindfolds.
Yeah, and I'm gonna put it on, because I always look fabulous when I do this. But this is actually how you eat supper.
This is how you eat your
Yep.
meal.
and I have to say, so I've done it now for 6 years. Oh, look at the hair there. I've done it now for 6 years, and the first year I did make the effort to eat my meal blindfolded, and it was and it's so cliche, but it was very eye-opening because I struggled to eat my meal, and it was fantastic though, because the person went through how to eat your meal and everything.
The servers are taught how to explain that to the
Yes,
guests.
which was wonderful.
Yes.
But my peas, because they serve peas every year.
I don't,
Of
I
course.
don't think we are this year.
Okay,
Yeah.
because
I think we're changing.
Corn
peas up a
niblets.
bit.
because my peas ended up in Judy's plate,
Right.
and her lap mostly, because I kept trying to stab the peas, which is what happens. But so tell us how Dining in the Dark, happens and what's going on.
Well, my first year being involved with Dining in the Dark was last year. And I was so excited to be part of it because what we do is we're raising awareness and we're raising funds for our local community. And that's the huge part. So a lot of the businesses come together to support us. We have a beautiful silent auction that's going to be going on. We have sponsored wine bar. We have food, a beautiful meal. And it's all about giving you that sense of what it's like to not have your vision, and you count on your other senses to help you out.
So part of what we're seeing on the screen now is actually a volunteer donating a painting, right? For some fundraising?
Yes.
Probably for the silent auction.
And that's actually, the gentleman on screen is a fantastic human being, Tim Fox, and he's from Fredericton, and he was at one point the executive director of the Kidney Foundation, but he's an incredible artist.
Wow.
And so he got he was pretty special there and donated some. So now what else do we have going on here?
So this is actually Jim Noseworthy and his dog. He is a staff person with CNIB in the Fredericton office, but he's also a client. He's totally blind, has been since birth, and he's an assistive technology specialist. So he's teaching people how to use an iPad, how to use their computers, how to be able to use all the technology that everyone else uses to be able to work and live just like everybody else. So, regardless of his vision, I mean, he can use a computer way better than I ever could. He could take one apart and put it back together without, without really thinking about it. I'm sure he's very talented.
Can't even eat peas.
I can't. You're right.
No, yeah.
I've come to grips with my limitations.
Opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, you're right. Tina, where can we get tickets?
So we can get tickets up until the end of today.
Ooh, it's coming up.
Yeah, it is coming up because it's this Saturday, so we wanted to make sure that we left enough time for the Lions Club. So, you can get tickets at River City Fitness as well as Town Hill Jewelers.
So River City Fitness, tell us about who the guest speaker is this year.
Amanda Downey is the guest speaker, and we're so pleased that she is coming on board to be our guest speaker. And it's a different experience that she's gone through, and she'll share it Saturday evening. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to hearing her story.
I am too. And we
Can you give us a little
teaser,
Tina? Yeah, sort of what's the theme or the discussion topic she'll be addressing?
She didn't share that. It's mainly basically on her experience of all of a sudden having a challenge with her vision.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unexpectedly.
Yeah.
So some people are born with it. Some people experience complete vision loss as they get older for whatever reason, and hers was just all of a sudden, it was unexpected.
I think she's really going to speak to the importance of vision health.
We know that
exactly 75% of vision loss is preventable or avoidable. 75% is huge.
Wow. Isn't that amazing?
And knowing them too, like I know Amanda is, she's a young adult, so. If there would be any misperceptions that this is something that would only affect people as they age, that wouldn't be true,
age.
Right?
That's correct.
It really is any age. We know that 50% of seniors will likely have some type of vision condition, but vision loss and vision diseases can affect anyone of any age. So yeah, it'll be a really interesting story and hear her take on things.
Now, Christine, can you talk a little bit about the services that you offer in office?
Absolutely. So what's on the screen right now is one of our low vision specialists working with the client, identifying what magnification may help her be able to continue to read independently. So we have low vision, maximizing what vision that you have. We have an independent living skills specialist. She's the one that's going to orient us to our plate at the event. So the meat will be at 6 o'clock, and she'll explain how that works. And to scoop towards the middle of your plate, try and find potatoes or something to lump your peas or whatever it's going to be this year again, so that you don't push them off.
It was like a shovel. I could see him. He would use one hand as a shovel and the other with his fork. And I'm like, Dad. He goes, well, that's how I'm getting it in my mouth.
Whatever works. So Lynn's helping people in their community, in their homes, be able to continue to live independently. So think about something like your microwave. The number pad on that is there's no tactile aspect of that.
Course.
But it's something as simple as having Lynn come in and put a little sticky bump on or a little bit of poofy paint on the 5 and on the start. Well, now, if you can find the 5, you can find all the numbers. Because if you look at your telephone pad at home, there's a bump on the 5. Pay attention next time, you'll notice that. So if you can find that 5, or on the ATM, if you find that 5, you can find the other numbers.
Oh, that's right.
And if you know where the start button is, then, or there may be a couple others depending on your microwave, but some simple things, something like that, you could go from not being able to cook for yourself anymore to now you can use your microwave and the world is opened up to you, right?
Fantastic.
So Lynn is helping people be able to live independently and safely. We have counseling services, so adjustment to vision loss groups. It's a really good first step for people that aren't really sure what we do and aren't convinced or maybe don't know what it is that we can do to help them. So being a part of that group can be helpful. We have assistive technology services, as I mentioned, with Jim and some other staff to help you learn how to use an iPad. Again, they're on the table here. There's nothing tactile about them, but they'll talk to you. So how does that work? Okay. We have orientation mobility specialists, so if you see someone, not everyone with vision loss will use a white cane, but you may see someone using one. They likely have worked with an O&M or orientation mobility specialist on how to use that safely, how to get around the community, how to take the bus or get a cab, how to get in and out of cars. And there's different types of canes, so what's the right one for them? So people are working with our specialists to get the information and knowledge to be able to continue to live independently. The only thing I've ever seen that our clients can't do that you or I could is drive a car, and even then they can, it's just not necessarily legal on the streets. Because I've seen them drive cars in a closed environment before, so they can do anything we can, it's just different ways.
I have seen people with perfect vision who can't drive a car either.
You are right.
So it's really about helping people realize that they can continue to do all the things they used to do or that everyone else does. They just might have to do it in a different way. So we're about providing that information and service to help them be independent and confident and improve quality of life.
So we want to make sure before we head to break, which is coming up soon, that everybody knows where to get their tickets and who to
Yes.
call and what time to be there on Saturday.
Right. So it begins at 6 o'clock. Tickets again at Town Hill Jewelry and River City Fitness.
Two great local businesses.
Very good,
Yes.
yes. And we're really excited. If they don't, if you can't get there, please, send us a note. We're on Facebook as well. And, or they can send something to me, to my Facebook at Tina Lewis Richardson, and we'll make sure that you get tickets.
And it's a fantastic meal. The Lions do a great job every
They
year.
do.
And thank you for that. I really
Yeah.
want to thank the Lions locally that they donate all of that to us so that we're able to do this event. It's such a successful fundraiser for us. And the Lions across the province are huge supporters of CNIB. They really help us be able to provide these services.
And make sure you come with pockets full of cash because there's a silent
Silent
auction.
Yeah,
auction,
absolutely.
that's
Some
right.
amazing-
And we got to
That's
thank
right.
all the amazing local businesses who support
Absolutely.
by
We
contributing
We have,
to the
we
silent
have a ton
auction
of
too.
sponsors. We don't want to miss anyone, so come and see.
Check out the Facebook page.
Yep,
That's
check
right.
out the Facebook page. That's right.
Well, and it's amazing what volunteers do. I mean, Tina and the rest of the committee have pulled this together, and with your help, of course, Christine, and they do it every year, and so 6 years running, it's still very successful, and it's amazing to hear the stories every year, and from people that are in our community. So we thank you very much for all that you're doing.
Absolutely. We couldn't do this
It's
event
a ton of work.
without the local volunteers. It's any success is not on me. It's on our volunteer team here
We have a
that
good
live in this
team.
community.
Well, fantastic. So thank you both for joining us
Thank
today.
you for having us.
Don't miss
Thank you,
CNIB
ladies.
Dining in the Dark. If you haven't gotten your tickets, go get them now. Hi, and welcome back to Have a Chat. That was a jam-packed segment with two fantastic ladies, and we were so thrilled to have them here. My name is Veronique Arseneault, and I am your host today, and I am joined by the fabulous Mayor Lordon.
Well, thank you. You can call me Adam.
All right, thanks. I do anyway, so thank you. And now this segment, we are so excited to have you join us, Mr. Colin Holmes.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
And you are the president of Impact Motivation.
Yes.
And you're here to talk to us about money matters and
I
navigating your personal finances.
Well,
I am.
this is a new program you're offering. Oh, there we go, Colin.
There it is.
Money matters.
Right here,
Money
right
matters, and I know that all of us can use some great tips. When it comes to money matters
Absolutely.
and saving
Now,
ourselves
before
some
we
money.
kick off,
Yes.
I have been very neglectful, and I'm sorry, but we didn't do our typical positive quote of the day.
We
And
didn't
Adam,
do a
and
quote of
Adam
the
does
day.
have one, so I'm
Oh.
going to ask him to
I did.
move right into
knew.
that.
I figured you'd be okay with this, Colin, because when I think of you, I think of you're Mr. Positivity.
Thank you.
And so Vero asked me to pull. I know this is usually Judy's
Yes.
gig, so I'm humbled to have been asked. I found a quote from Winston Churchill.
Fabulous.
Who is certainly a great role model, and the quote is: "The positive thinker sees the invisible, feels the intangible, and achieves the impossible."
Yes.
And I know it's always a struggle for all of us internally, and in our daily lives, talking to other people. There's that tendency to want to talk about something negative or dwell on the negative.
right.
But if we all just focused on the positive and thought about what we could build and what we could do, as opposed to what we don't have or what somebody cheated us out of, if we focus on those positives, we can all achieve so much more. So I really, really will achieve the impossible, actually. So
I agree.
I really like that.
Well, in keeping that in mind, there are situations that we come upon. For example, in a workplace, certain people don't show up for work at a particular time. What do you do with that? Do you lament and complain that they're not there, or do you say, okay, here's who we have here. How are we going to make this day the most possible and most positive that we possibly
That's right.
can do?
Very much so.
Yeah. One of the impossible things I'd like to do is save enough money for retirement, Colin.
I agree. I am
like
with you.
to do the impossible by saving enough money for retirement. Well, we can talk a little bit about that in this course, Money Matters. But I do want to say one thing. Your last guests, I have had the privilege of being in Dining in the Dark,
Yep.
and I have tremendously enjoyed it. We're looking at we will be there, I should say, this year again, and I'm very excited about that. So I just want to give a little bit of a plug to the folks from Dining in the Dark, because
They're pretty
it
fabulous.
it is a wonderful opportunity to go. You do have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You really do.
With the peas.
With the
Yes.
Now, Colin, we know you well, as do most people in our community, but for those who may not know you as well, there might be a couple out there. Tell us a little bit about you first.
All right, so I am married. We have a little girl. I shouldn't say that little because she's 8 years old and she would get after me for saying that. I have lived in the Miramichi for 22 years.
Wow.
I've been in the Miramichi. So I've been here longer than probably any other place that I've ever lived. And my wife is a school teacher. I presently, because of an injury, I actually am kind of doing a little less of this teaching outside of the Miramichi and doing more inside, but I actually work for the Town Auto Group.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So some people might see me at the Mazda store.
And you also offer courses, Colin, including this one. And you know, personal finances are a struggle for people. And I have a business degree, and I know even for a lot of the people that I went to school with, you know, the business is one thing, but when it comes to their own personal finances, everybody could use good information and good tips.
Oh, absolutely, because one of the things that we have to realize when it comes to personal finance or finances of any sort is the fact that it's really only 20% of what we think. It's 80% of what we actually do. We have to apply these principles, and there's a word that nobody likes. It's called discipline. Discipline, we don't like to hear this word, and you see some of the folks in the video that are here that were just going through kind of a part of the course and some of the teaching that we were doing earlier this past week just to kind of set up for this. But the reality is that I can show you as much on a piece of paper as I possibly can. I can show you all, for the full 3 hours that we're going to do this course, I can show you all of those things. But if you take that home and you just set that on a shelf, that's exactly where it's going to stay. We have to do the application part. So, for example, if you want to be healthier, you've got to do healthier actions, whatever those happen to be, okay? And for someone like myself who walks with a cane, there's certain things that I have to do differently now than I used to do. The same thing when it comes to eating. We have to do those things that are different. Otherwise, what's the definition of insanity?
We keep doing it.
Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a
different result. And we will never receive a different result if we don't make those appropriate changes.
So Colin, this is a one-day, just a 3-hour course that you offer people. Tell us a little bit about what people could expect to take away from that course.
All right, so the course is divided up into 3 different parts. The first is savings and investing. The second is credit and debt. And the third part is financial responsibility and money management. And so under the savings part, we look at some of the different ways in which you can look at savings, and I've given you a bit of an outline, and we take these 2 brothers, Ben and Arthur, and we just take this as an example, and we say, okay, Ben decided that he was going to invest really early on, and he only invested $20-some thousand. And then his brother smartens up after college and after all of these things, and he says, okay, I'm going to start putting the same away as my brother. But Ben stops because Ben's got other things that he's doing, maybe some other investments, et cetera, that he's doing. But the reality is that Ben out-earns Arthur by a substantial amount of money when it came to retirement time. Now, it's not saying, and I have to reiterate this in such a way that people who are in their middle age, like I am right now, this is the time when people go, oh my goodness, I've got to retire in X number of years. What can I do? So don't look at the Ben and Arthur example as something that's, well, I'm not, 19 years old, so I can't get on this. There's always ways to do this, and we also bring in actual financial advisors to sit down with you to walk through that. I am not a financial advisor, but meeting Dave Ramsey in 2009 and then starting what we did was called Financial Peace University, which is a 10-week course, we've invested in the lives of over 300 people within this region.
Amazing.
Wow.
Yes.
Amazing. But that's the scariest part, though, because I'm at that middle part of my age, right, where I'm starting to panic about the fact that I don't have a pension,
right,
or that I haven't really saved significantly. I have a home, and that's fantastic, but
and more and more people won't. And I'm just at the beginning of the millennial generation, Sue, Colin, and when we look out there at the labor market and the labor force, our generation it's not like the boomers. We're not going to have the same job for 30 years with that pension. And Vero, you're a Gen Xer in the middle.
I am, yeah.
And you guys are somewhere in between,
That's exactly,
right?
Yeah.
And so what do we do? Vero and myself, are people that are our age or older, and maybe they unfortunately, for whatever life circumstance, weren't able to start doing this when they were 19 or 20. What can people start to do now that can have that impact?
That's a great question.
Because I'm going to do it
Lordon.
right after I leave.
I do appreciate that, because in this course there's a lot of grace, and there has to be. And the reason that I say that is this, is I can show you an example of a Ben and Arthur who were 19 and 26, but you're not 19 and 26, and neither am I. Yeah. But what we do is we sit down and we say, okay, what does your financial situation look like today? And then work with that from right now. If you've got a substantial amount of debt, you are kind of behind the 8 ball, but you're not out of the game. You're absolutely not out of the game. So we help you to understand the debt snowball. And the debt snowball is just simply paying off your debt, smallest to greatest, over a certain period of time, and gaining that momentum to do this. Okay. Now, when we look at the debt snowball, that's just part of what we refer to as the 7 baby steps. And the first one is setting up an emergency fund. See, one of the challenges for most people is they don't have money for an emergency. When something happens, what do? They pull out the credit card, or they use the line of credit at the bank, or give that phone call to mom or dad and say, Mom, Dad, I need whatever it is. But the discipline starts with you setting aside $1,000 to start off with, and then beginning from there. That's where the discipline starts. And then baby step number 2 is to pay off all your debts using the debt snowball that I was referring to. And then baby step number 3 is hard for a lot of people, because if you think about putting 3 to 6 months worth of expenses away, for some people that's $30,000 to $50,000. Holy cow, that's a lot of money. But when you think about how much money most people are making and bringing in, they're able to put that 3 to 6 months worth of expenses away. Then we teach you how to invest 15% of your household income. If you've got children, we teach you the idea of college funding. And then step number 6 is pay off your home early. And I love step number 7, because this is a great thing to build wealth and give a bunch of it away.
Now, I don't want to run out of time, Vero, and so Colin, you brought something, and I would be remiss if we didn't get to this piece.
Well, you know,
Colin brought us a bag of meat.
I did.
And I can honestly say that this is the first time on our show, live here.
But this bag of meat is here.
We have a bag of meat.
Is here to give a tangible example, a real-life example of something people can do, Colin.
It is. Now, I just want you to know, I went to the grocery store before coming to the interview, and I picked up some fresh roast beef, and then I picked up the roast beef at the deli. Okay. And Mayor Lordon, just want you to see here that when you take a look at the fresh roast beef, you actually have 0.7 kilograms of meat. Then with the pre-made or the roast beef at the deli, it's 0.3. Here's what I'm saying. There's $10 of roast beef here, there's $10 of roast beef here, but the reality is when you're spending money, most people pay for the convenience instead of taking this home and cooking it themselves and basically having more than double the amount of meat that they, so they can have of course this is a smaller roast, but nevertheless, I'm just using it as an example. But here's what you do. You take this roast home, you have a meal, and then you make your sandwiches from it. This doesn't allow you to do that. This is literally less than half of this for the same $10 that you've taken out of your pocket to spend, and the hard-earned money that you've earned.
And it's the same, Colin. We were talking before we came on air. You know, there are a lot of examples like that at the grocery store. Whether it's the pre-prepared salads, the cored pineapples was the example I gave you.
Exactly.
You can get a pineapple for $2.99 and do it yourself, or you can get one that's cored for $6.99.
Exactly.
And you know what?
All of those pricings help you to look at your budget in a different way. Like, what am I spending? Most people, they want to pay for the convenience because it is convenient.
Right.
Sure.
I'm not putting that down, but when you sit and you look at this, especially with larger families, I can get more than double the amount of roast when I cook it at home myself. Plus, I know what's in this.
Right. But it's also so really it's about a little bit of planning.
There has to be planning involved in this. There's no doubt in my mind. And putting this in a slow cooker or putting this in your oven and turning on the timer and setting that, these are things that we do at home. These are personal applications that we work with.
Now, I think everybody gets it. So what I'm going to do is just remove the meat in case we have vegetarians watching at home too, which is why I cite the pineapple.
Yeah. There are options in all areas of food preparation. Definitely. That's fantastic. But I love how it's, it's baby steps, right? I love how it's baby steps because it's entirely overwhelming to think about the fact that at the age of, ripe old age of 44, I have no pension, right? And plus I have the debt snowball.
Well, for me, I've said this for many, many years, that I don't expect my employer to take care of my future, and I don't expect the government to take care of my future. I believe, as a God-fearing man, that I have to take care of my family and my future. And so I have to plan for that. Now, think about this. How many people overbuy when they buy a vehicle? How many people overbuy when they buy a home? These are all just simple examples, but it happens to us, right? Because we buy into this idea that we need this. Okay, and as Eddie Hamilton says it when in the car business, he says they're in the anesthetic. They're just right in there. They want to buy that car, and in some cases they're buying too much car.
So now, how do we get a hold of you, Colin?
Okay, well, there's a couple of different ways. ImpactMotivation.ca is our website. And so 622-8132 is the phone number there, or office@impactmotivation.ca. Now, the plan for this course is to do it in the latter part of April, and we're still working with the funding for this course. So what we're trying to do is trying to make this available to people at no cost to them. Okay. So that's where we're working right now.
Fantastic. Well, you know what? We were so thrilled to have you today, Colin.
Good to be here.
And
Thank you.
really, we're all in this boat. We all need a little bit of help, right?
Yes,
I mean, we all need a little bit of guidance when it comes to financial matters and healthy eating and all of those things. So you want to go see the experts.
Absolutely.
Well, and they're planning ahead. It has value on all those fronts, right? Whether it's your financial, whether it's your health and wellness.
Exactly.
And, so plan ahead. If we take one thing away from today.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to give a little shout out actually to our show that's coming up next week. We're pretty excited. We have they're called the Living Stations, with Easter just around the corner, and we're in the midst of Lent and all of that. So St. Michael's Basilica every year puts on the Living Stations, and it is multi-faith. So it's not just for the Catholic Church, but the volunteers practice all year, and they put on the Living Stations of the Cross as a production. And I will tell you, last year was the first year I've been in 11 years that I've been home. Last year was the first year I've been, and I cried.
I would like to go. I have, similar when I was here as a younger person, and I think I attended one year years ago, and since I came back a few years ago, I haven't had the chance to do that. Is Judy involved in that?
Always, yes. And Barb McLaughlin's one of our guests for next week, and Judy's always a narrator in the.
And you're right, Veronique. In terms of that, obviously the Easter story is a Christian story.
Yes.
But the takeaways and the values and the lessons are universal.
Exactly.
As there are those lessons in stories from faiths across the board.
Exactly. And I mean, it's not, Easter is not all about the bunnies. We love the bunnies. The bunnies are my favorite, but it is not all about the bunnies, right? We have to remember how we ended up with Easter, and it's a beautiful depiction of it. So
and Saint Anne de Beaupré in Quebec, they have the life size. I took my daughter, and it was a wonderful experience last year. So this one where you're having it live sounds amazing.
Yeah. It is, and we want to emphasize the fact that it is actually multi-faith, and it just happens to be at St. Michael's Basilica. But we'll be pretty excited to see the show when it comes, but also to have Barb and Judy talk about it next week when they're both here. But Colin, truly, we were so thrilled to have you today.
Great to be here.
We love when you visit. And thank you. And we want to make sure that people do give Colin a call. And these are fantastic things to be doing and learning about.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. This is my second home here now.
I know. We're so thrilled. We're so thrilled.
And there's never enough time.
No.
There's always more, because there are so many exciting and positive things happening in Miramichi.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's, and a lot of that is because of community folks like yourselves.
Well, thank you, everybody. Don't forget to tune in next week, and Judy and Audrey will be back with us. Hopefully the audio be feeling a little bit better. But I was so thrilled to be here with Adam Lordon today and all of our guests. Check us out on Facebook, and we'll see you again soon.
There you go. Good one.